Games about perspective are whack. Look at this cheese wedge. It looks bigger? Bam! It is bigger. See this square? A cube from thin air. Check out these tickets.
Look again. The tickets are now diamonds.
I love these games where you control reality based on your perspective. But here's a game about perspective I don't hear anyone talk about anymore. I'm talking about the student-made game called Perspective. Perspective is a 2D platformer with a twist.
Grab his
2D platformer.
twist it! Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight!
When you left click, your little platformer guy freezes in place, and you gain control of the camera itself. When you finish shifting to perspective to your desires, left click to return to the platforming mode. If I had a top 10 tier list, perspective would be there somewhere. This game is brilliant. There are two key aspects I want to address. First is the way this game ingeniously teaches you all the inner workings of this mechanic. The second is the surprising amount of atmospheric storytelling present in this dialogue-less game. The game makes a clear distinction between the two modes. The platform mode has an orange frame compared to the perspective shift mode, which has no frame at all. This also doubles as the farthest limit your little guy can go, as the game has already established that orange equals bad. Also, the platform mode has additional percussion tracks in the background. It reminds me of getting Yoshi in Super Mario World. The only text that exists in this game are the names of the levels, and they alone provide enough context clues to let you figure out how to beat the level. For example, in the level Isolation Chamber, your platformer's progress is halted by this unavoidable wall, but there's a hole that leads to another room that the camera itself does not have access to. By splitting yourselves up into separate rooms, you can bypass the wall and achieve victory. However, the game gets even more genius at teaching you the game by showing, not telling. This level, called The Floor is Lava, starts off differently from every level so far by having you, the camera, fall miles away from your friend. I love the irony here that even though the floor is lava, you, the camera guy, can stand on it. Immediately you notice a problem. There's no blue for the platform to stand on. Even the platform mode instantly kills you. Turns out the floor the title is referring to is actually the borders of the screen. You can look around the level if you want, but you can't do any kind of real progression without your friend on the screen. So you know the solution lies right here. Knowing this, you don't have to waste time hopelessly searching every nook and cranny of the room. In platform mode, you only have two actions: move the guy and exit platform mode. The guy instantly falls from gravity, stripping you of control, so that leaves you with only one option. This is how the game teaches you a mechanic that has always been accessible to you from the get-go. You can switch modes while in midair, and now you can safely land on the blue. Later, the level provides another problem with a similar solution. This is such a cool way of adding complexity to simplicity. Instead of adding more actions or giving more buttons to push, the game expands on its mode switching mechanic, demonstrating how nuanced it can be. And it expertly keeps building and building. In the immediate next level, Earth and Sky, your friend is presented with a dead end. There is no change in perspective that can remove this obstacle. But, freshly armed with knowledge, you try what is the only available option remaining: jumping and freezing. Initially, this doesn't seem to solve anything, but simply observing and walking around reveals the solution. Your friend rotates alongside your perspective. Now gravity is reversed and progress has been made. I love the hint in the title of this level. What constitutes the ground and sky is, like everything else, based on your perspective. I mean, look at this column. From here it's flat as a square, but from here it looks like, This level's got a long hallway. For a second your mind thinks, do I really have to traverse it like this? But then you remember the name of the game and then you do this. It reminds me of this part in Portal, where this brutal machinery obstacle makes some people briefly forget that they have a dimension-shifting gun that ignores everything. There are a ton more levels that display this fantastic method of show, don't tell, of teaching, but I recommend checking out the levels yourself. The perspective mechanic and gameplay are what makes this game so inventive, but it also manages to exert a surprisingly immersive atmosphere with its contrasting colors, backgrounds, and music. You start out in an arcade cabinet, escape it, and then traverse through the arcade itself. Check out this pizza deal. And then... the arcade hub itself is revealed to be part of an even bigger hub, in this weird digital landscape, backed up by a rendition of Beethoven's first movement of Moonlight Sonata. Tell me this doesn't get you feeling some kind of way. And as you progress through this hub, you'll find yourself back in the arcade. Except... layout-wise, this arcade is exactly the same. Even the levels inside have the same shape. But the titles are corrupted, and the levels have a new twist to them. It's a very small detail that begs a lot of questions, such as, what happened here? Is this the past or the future? Do they still have that pizza deal? The slightly muted colors add to the dystopian setting. This really isn't that much, but it still adds a ton of depth to the game that they really didn't need to bother themselves with, and that's something I really appreciate. Even though I think this game is fan-freaking-tastic, it's basically been forgotten. Even when I search for it on YouTube, the first few results are superliminal. You need to leave! Why is this game so unseen? Well, as mentioned earlier, this is a game developed by students at DigiPen Institute of Technology. It had no advertising that I'm aware of aside from a release trailer, which, by the way, the original trailer released by the college doesn't even show up for me when I search for it. I had to look up the college first to find this. Additionally, this game is called an experimental game for a reason. It's extremely short, roughly 30 minutes long maybe. The things I would do to make this a full-fledged title. Fortunately, there's no need to worry about perspective getting ripped off by Superliminal. A quick look at the credits showed that the level designer worked on both titles, so Superliminal can be seen as a spiritual sequel of sorts. Maybe they will make an official sequel someday. Unless you despise puzzle games, you have no reason not to try Perspective. It's insanely clever with its ideas and executes them smoothly. It's free, it's amazing, it makes me, a dum-dum, feel smart. Also, beating the game awards you with a very funny ending, so don't miss out. Don't let this forgotten game slip by.